Hello everyone. So this is my demonstration on how to annotate and analyze a chapter in Fun Home. And in doing so, would lead you to the formulation of a thesis statement for that chapter. So let's proceed. Let's start with chapter one. And as you would know by now, the title of chapter one is Old Father, Old Artificer. So what I'll be doing is I will choose certain panels or frames or pages from chapter one, and then I will annotate them. And then at the end of all these annotations, I will present a thesis statement that I have come up with after my own analysis. Disclaimer though, there may have been other pages in the chapter that you felt were more worthy of annotation. That's okay. It's up to you to decide which ones you think are best for this kind of exercise. So for chapter one, I actually started with the chapter title page. So the panel that you see on the screen right now. Uh, so as mentioned, it's father and artificer. So one might ask, what is an artificer? So I looked it up in the dictionary. An artificer is a skilled craftsman or inventor. And you would know by now that that is exactly who Allison's father was. He was someone who liked to build things, decorate things, create make things more decorative and intricate. So I think this very page already sets certain expectations of who Allison's dad is without even reading through the chapter yet. Seeing this uh, image and the title already sets expectations. And then some visual observations of this title page. Well, you'll notice his face. It appears to be very haughty or proud. And you would know from understanding comics that the more detailed the features of a character are, it means it is representative of something very distinct or specific. It's not so universal or iconic. So I think Allison is presenting a very distinct, a particular personality for her father. And then you'll notice a few more things like his arm, uh, his face, his eyes. So the body language is very proud, arrogant, chin up. He has a very piercing and judgmental stare with his hand on the waist. I couldn't think of a better description but to say that it's like a Miss Universe contestant. And that says a lot, especially if you finish reading this chapter. And then a few things to notice also would be the very detailed fixtures, very intricate and very ornate. So with this chapter page, title page alone, you will already have some thoughts. And my key takeaway from this page is that there is a strong connection between the physical attributes of Allison's home and Allison's dad, the artificer, and both have become key players in creating the setting, in this case, Allison's home, that she grew up in as a child. And then the next page I would like to annotate is on page 11. So you will notice on this page that there is a reference to It's a Wonderful Life. It's a film by Frank Capra. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but if you're familiar with the story of the the spirit of Christmas past, present, and future, about this guy who wanted to give up on his life, that's It's a Wonderful Life. You can research further about this story on your own. So as this particular scene is playing out on the graphic novel, Allison has also presented as a backdrop some scenes from It's a Wonderful Life playing in parallel to what was happening at that point in time in this scene. So here, the father is being likened to George Bailey. That's the character played by Jimmy Stewart for It's a Wonderful Life. And then I found this description online. Um, so George Bailey is a building and loan banker who sacrifices his dreams in order to help his community of Bedford Falls to the point where he feels life has passed him. Uh, Eventually, due to difficulties in keeping the building and loan solvent, Bailey falls into despair and he thinks of suicide. And you would know that by the end of this chapter, Allison's father passed away, and her theory is that he committed suicide. Okay, also on the same page would be these images. You would see someone cowering in fear, um, someone who's very concerned about the dad getting angry, the line movements, the sound movement, the clink. So notice how the lines that represent movement and the gestures, reactions, and expressions of the characters create a strong sense of fragility, fear, and tension, not wanting to drop or break anything or else they will suffer the consequences. So everything must be perfect. And my key takeaway from this page is that the members of Allison's family walk on eggshells when it comes to dealing with their father. Allison views her father in a particular way, that of a man who is equally as fragile and sensitive as all the ornaments, decorations, and pictures in the house. And then the next page, well, pages that I'll be annotating are pages 16 and 17. I felt that one had to be annotated with the other. They're very much connected. I'll start with page 16. So you'll notice a change in shape of panels. This first one is quite taller than the rest to emphasize the mirror that Allison is polishing. And then the other one is this panel, which is wider than the rest. And it shows that the family is taking a picture. So other things to notice would be some words and images. So a mirror, a picture perfect family, the word embellishment, the dad using a bronzing stick. I'm not sure you know what that is. The word impeccable. So these are symbols that have to do with appearances and in my analysis have to do with lies. So in this panel, or maybe most likely even earlier than this page, you would have started doubting something about the father. And when you reach this page, your doubts start to deepen. And then the very next page, page 17. So let's define one of the words first, which is very much related to the previous symbols mentioned. The word uh, simulacrum, which means an image or representation of something or someone. And then you would see the images of more picture perfect images, which Allison describes as a sham. Uh, the dad appears to be an ideal husband and father, but to Allison it was a sham. And then notice in one of the panels, the dad who is eyeing this guy, one of the altar boys. And actually, Allison explicitly says, but would an ideal husband and father have sex with teenage boys? So by this time, your reader's doubts are already confirmed. And my key takeaway from these pages are that Allison didn't mince words about communicating to the reader her own doubts and criticisms about her father as she was growing up. Maybe she didn't want to be an artificer of her own. She didn't want to make pretenses and create truth. Okay, and then I think this is the last panel that I annotated. So you would have encountered the name Daedalus in previous pages. It's in reference to the myth of Daedalus, the inventor, and in fact, the word artificer is associated with Daedalus, the inventor, and he's the one who created the labyrinth where one would see the Minotaur. So Alison's father as the artificer equals Daedalus, the inventor, the man who created the labyrinth. And then there's also a reference to the Minotaur. So the father, not just as the inventor, but as the Minotaur, the monster, the creature. There. So you would notice on this panel that it shows the dad being monster-like, being Minotaur-like. Here he's breaking one of his precious items, appliances, which he holds very dear. But also notice how the reactions of the family members are quite stoic. Perhaps they've become used to this kind of unpredictability, these outbursts. But at the same time, Allison also recalls some tender moments with her dad. Uh, and there are other pages that show Allison also trying to express how there were attempts from both her and the dad to have those tender moments. So my key takeaways from this page is that um, Allison living in her own home was the same as someone navigating through a labyrinth. So sometimes you get lost, sometimes you know where you're going, sometimes you don't know where you're going. So it seemed that she was also navigating her own labyrinth. So a very strong allusion to, once again, to the Greek myth of Daedalus. So uh, for this part, I've gathered my key takeaways of the annotated frames and then review them. And then it may take a while, but it's important to be able to synthesize, put them together, and then create an overall thesis statement of the panels I have annotated. So this is the thesis statement I came up with. There may be better versions. You may have other ways of expressing these ideas, but this is what I came up with. So through a detailed characterization of her father, allusions to other literary characters, and very graphic visual representations of her home made parallel to her father's personality, Allison was able to present to the readers the emotional setting of hypocrisy and turmoil of the home she grew up in. So hopefully you would notice that the supports of this thesis statement, the details, are very much aligned to the annotations that I made from the chosen panels and pages. So it's like a building up to. So my thesis statement should really contain ideas from what I have annotated. And this is the end result of those annotations. So that's it. That's my sample annotation and analysis and formulation of thesis statement for chapter one. I hope this is good enough modeling of what I expect from you guys in your own annotation, analysis, and formulation of thesis statements for the chapters that will be assigned to you. Thank you very much and have a good day.